All right, what's going on? I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome back to another Theology Thursday. This is a throwback to, I did this a long time ago. This is actually just a book review, but it's a little bit more than that, because we're talking about where did the 5 points of Calvinism come from. There's a long history of my walk and my journey through Calvinism, but I'm a little softer now, a little more humble, hopefully. I was pretty staunch, hard and fast, 5-pointer a few years ago, and now I'm just a little more tired. So I'm fine with whatever you believe, that's great. But this book was interesting to me. It's called Grace Defined and Defended. It's by Kevin DeYoung, who is a Calvinist, and so he's got a bent towards this, the Synod of Dort, but he kind of just goes through the importance of defining our terms and knowing what we believe and where it came from. So I'm interested in church history, but I haven't learned much about it, and so I thought this would be a fun place to start. And I do love precision. I love language, and the importance of words I think is important. So whether you're a Calvinist or an Arminian or somewhere in between, to know what all this is about and where it came from I think is important, because we just like build these straw men of Arminians and the Calvinists, and then we just like pretend to debate an imaginary person. So this is just a great place to start as far as understanding that goes. And Kevin DeYoung is short and sweet, and he's interesting to read. It's very, very user-friendly. So quick review, highlight of what the Dort is. Dort is a place in the Netherlands where they had a meeting to discuss the doctrines of predestination. So John Calvin, where the word Calvinist comes from, he was big on predestination and God's electing people to be saved by no merit of their own, purely of his own will he elects people. And Arminian Arminius, gosh, these words, the Netherlands, those people have hard names to say. He was a Calvinist too, or he was a student of Calvin. I don't know if Calvinist was a word back then. But he disagreed. He thought that God elected people based on foreseeing that they would have faith, not just out of God's own good pleasure, good will, his own God's free will, but he saw that they would believe, and then he decided to choose them. And so there was a debate going on between these two parties, and then Arminius died in like 1609. I'm going to fact check myself, so if any of these numbers are wrong, I'll just put words over my face. But the debate continued after his death, and then in, what was it? Was it 1610? There was like the Remonstrance was formed, which was the official, they disagreed with the mainline Calvinists. So in about 1618 is when the council, the Synod of Dort, was officially started in November, and it went all the way into May of the next year. So they had a lot of talking to do, and there was some like political stuff going on as well, and lots of other things happening. But they talked it out. They got all the brains together, and they defined their terms, and they went back and forth, and they decided that the Reformed Church, the Dutch Reformed Church, was going to be true original Calvinists, follow after Calvin's teaching. And so the 5 points of Calvinism were actually a response to the Remonstrance. So they came with their own 5 points of disagreement, and then the Calvinists responded with their 5 points. And then later, like hundreds of years later, someone coined them TULIP, total depravity, unconditional election, limited atonement, irresistible grace, and P, perseverance of the saints. And the neo-Calvinists these days have renamed those to be more theologically accurate. But one of the interesting things about the book is that when you read the Remonstrance, their 5 points, you'd be like, yeah, those all sound great. The words are just big enough, just confusing enough that you would just agree with them. But Kevin DeYoung points out just like specific words and what they meant and how they were like disagreeing ever so slightly with the guys before. And I thought that was fascinating. I know we don't need to get caught up on debates too much, but knowing where these came from and how they were formed and then the clarity of the doctrine, I think is really great. So I audiobooked this one, so I don't actually have the outline for it, but you can get your outlines on Amazon. And so here's what you're in for if you get this book. And I recommend it. I think everyone should know the history of the church and where we come from and why we believe what we believe. One of them, the first chapter, is God's purpose and good pleasure in predestination, the first point. He just goes through the 5 points. Redemption accomplished and applied, human corruption, divine conversion. He who began a good work will bring it to completion, 5th point. Oh, he does 3 and 4 in one chapter. And then he actually like gives you all of the things that they disagreed about, their 5 points, and you can just read them and see where they disagreed and how they debated. Really interesting. So he talks about like his first story is a car mechanic, or his car used to always break down, and he would just go into the engine and whack it, and then it would work magically. And then eventually his whacking didn't work, and so he had to go to a mechanic who knew the exact thing that was wrong with it, and he actually fixed it. And so he talks about that with theology, is like we're all just kind of throwing out ideas, and we don't really have a respect for precision and scholarship and words. And so he's like, this is a book about precise scholarship and theology. And I appreciate that. I know there's lots of other things to be focused on in the world, but I think this is a good piece to a well-rounded person, is a good foundation in their theology. So great book, recommend it. Dort, Synod of Dort. That'd be a great conversation at the next party you go to, like, hey, did you know in 1618? I don't know if anyone will. They'll boo you. They'll boo you out of the party. Unless you have nerd friends, and then you're good to go. So, thanks for watching Theology Thursday. If you want more of these, let me know. I'm kind of just throwing out videos and seeing what sticks. I'm doing this shotgun approach. So, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Maybe we'll be in the bus next time. Maybe we'll be talking theology. Who knows? See ya.